Did you know there's a trilogy of NES games that we've all heard about, and you can still get every one of those for under $20 each? So we're back at it for another one of these videos under $20. This one's gonna be awesome games, just fun, super cool games. None of them are going to be real hidden gems. These are going to be games you've probably heard of. But I mean, let's say that you were rooting around, you found your NES, you dusted it off, and you figured, you know what? I want to find some more games that I can play on the NES. They're going to fall under that $20 range. Starting this one off, a game that I loved in my childhood, one that was super fun, and I still love it to this day. I love it more now than I did then. It's going to be Road Blasters. Now, Road Blasters is a racing game. This is actually a port from an old Atari arcade game, and it's really, really cool. Now, this was produced by Beam Software, published by Mindscape, and this is a super cool game if you've never seen it before. Now, Road Blasters comes in between like $8 and $10, so super cheap game, and a lot of fun to be had here. Now, Road Blasters is going to be a racing game. We're trying to get to the end, basically point A to point B to the finish line. Press forward, you're going to start driving. The more you hold forward, the faster you're going to get. If you end up in the turf on the sides, you're going to have to press forward again to speed up. Now, cool thing about this one is you do have a reserve fuel tank. Now, you might have enough fuel in your main tank to make it to the end if you do everything perfect. But the fact that you have that reserve tank is super cool, and it's going to get better and better the more we play. Now, we're going to come across a bunch of enemies in this. There's going to be yellowy orange cars. Now, you can just shoot them. Just blast them with your guns. Just be careful, because your gun's going to kind of shoot straight. So if you're in a corner and you're trying to shoot one of them, could be a little difficult to hit them sometimes. Honestly, a lot of the times I do crash in the corners, especially when I get hung up on something like that. There's also going to be these bluey purple cars. Now, they call them command cars in the manual, and you're going to need special weapons to destroy them. Now, those special weapons are going to come from little planes. They're going to fly in and drop those. We're going to want to get underneath those with our car and pick those up. Now, your machine gun, your regular weapon, is unlimited. You have unlimited bullets on that. Your special guns, they do have a certain amount of shots. There's like an Uzi type of gun. There's also a cruise missile that will take out those command cars, those blue cars. It'll wipe everything out on the screen other than you. Now, occasionally while you're driving along, you're going to see little green orbs. Pick those up. Those are fuel. Sometimes when you destroy these cars, you're going to get little yellowy orange orbs. Pick those up too. That's fuel from you destroying these cars. Now, you're going to want to be careful with your shots here. Make sure you're aiming. Don't just blast randomly, because in the bottom left corner of the screen, you're going to see that multiplier. Now, if you can get up to 10, you've maxed out your multiplier, and every time you take a shot, you're getting points. But every time you miss one of those shots, gonna knock that multiplier down. So just random firing isn't helping your score, which at the end of each level, this is where the fun part comes in for me. The more you get for points, the higher your score is at the end of the level, is gonna fill that reserve tank up, meaning you're gonna fill it up and you're gonna have a bunch of extra fuel for the next level. If you can keep those shots accurate, hit your marks on those shots, get that multiplier as high as you can. Honestly, every time you hit the next level, you're going to have a full reserve fuel tank, which is going to help you out a ton. Now, this is going to be more of a fun, casual racer game, especially with that reserve fuel tank. This game is a lot of fun, and it's not super, super difficult. And with 50 levels, this one, for under 10 bucks, it's going to give you something you could have a lot of fun with and play quite often if you really wanted to. And again, this is one that I totally love. Now, the second one on our list is going to fall between that $9 and $12 range. And it's going to be Star Tropics. Now, Star Tropics is that role-play, action-adventure style of game. Now, this is going to pull a lot from Dragon Quest and Zelda, to the point that, like, the whole screen that you see when you're picking what save you're going to use, that is a carbon copy of Zelda. And this is going to pull from both of those styles of game. It is kind of the RPG. You're out, you're searching, you're adventuring around, and all the action stuff from the Zelda, like that action RPG, you get to do all that too. Now, this one is set more science fiction-y. We're gonna play as Mike Jones, star pitcher, and we have gone to the island to see our uncle, Dr. Jones. Now, it's not that Dr. Jones, and when we get there, he's already gone missing. They say he's been abducted. We have to find him. Now, being a star pitcher in baseball as the main character, you would think your weapon would be like maybe a baseball or a baseball bat. Your primary weapon in this is a yo-yo. But honestly, I'm okay with that. This game is interesting and fun. You're gonna wanna make sure you talk to everyone you see, because if you don't, you'll miss something and you actually won't be able to progress the story. So any character you see, talk to them. When we're in the dungeon, it's gonna have that top-down adventure style game, and it's gonna be a lot like those Zeldas, stuff like that, where either you need to finish off all the enemies in the room to open the door, or you need to figure out a puzzle, get that door open, move on to the next area. One thing I do like about this is there is an autosave feature, so it's just saving every time you get into a dungeon, every time you finish a chapter, or something like that, it does save, which is really nice. You don't gotta go in and try to save. The thing is it does get a little difficult the further in you get, and when you die, you end up back at the start of the level or at the start of the checkpoint. And if you get to the point of a game over, it basically puts you back to the start of that dungeon where you saved. Now, this is a fun and unique game with a really cool soundtrack. The music on this is totally awesome. It does get a little harder the further in you get, but this is one you could power through. You could definitely figure it out. The thing is, with this one, you're going to want to use the internet, look up what you need to find at the very end, because in the original box, it came with a piece of paper that when you got that paper wet, it would come out with the frequency you need to finish the game. Without that, you can't beat this one. So you're going to want to Google that, look that up, find that, and then this game really, it's manageable. You can do it. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to want to throw the controller every once in a while and pull your hair out, but you can do it. I totally know you can. And it's a super fun game. For under 20 bucks, an action adventure RPG, one like this is definitely one to pick up. Now, the next one on our list is going to be one that a lot of people love, myself included. I had this one as a kid, and I never knew what I was doing in it, but I still loved it. It's going to be Blaster Master. Now, Blaster Master comes to us from Sunsoft. This is like a 1988 game, and it is super fun. It's got kind of a quirky story, that 90s story. Your pet frog gets free, ends up out in the backyard, and of course, there's a box of radioactive waste. I mean, it's the late 80s, so of course there's radioactive waste. Your frog falls down a hole, you go looking for it, and magically you find a awesome futuristic tank and an awesome futuristic tank driving suit. This one's another one that combines two different genres of games. It's got that side-scrolling platformer style of gameplay when you're in the tank, and then the cool thing is you press select and you jump out of the tank, and then you can enter some of these dungeons, and then it becomes like a top-down action-adventure style game. One thing that frustrates me with this one is if you get hit after you've upgraded your weapons, it's gonna knock your weapon down. Now, one thing about Blaster Master is it's not really a linear adventure. You gotta go places, go back. There's a lot of backtracking back and forth, but it is such a cool game. And the soundtrack for Blaster Master, this one falls on a lot of people's lists for epic soundtracks, mine included. This game is so awesome. And it's a genuine classic in my opinion, maybe because I had it as a kid, but I totally love Blaster Master. I know a lot of people out there do. And Blaster Master lands between like $10 and $14, which in my opinion for this game, that is a steal of a deal if you can find it. Get out there, find Blaster Master. You will not regret it. It is awesome. So last month, RNG Gamer joined me in one of these videos, and he talked about Super Dodgeball. If you haven't seen that video, it should be here. Check it out. Now this month, we're gonna check in with another good friend of mine. We're gonna jump on over to Keith, the Pickin' Preacher's place, and see what game he thinks would land on this list.
Oh, well, I'm not that bad. So you're looking for a good NES game that's only $20 or less? I got a good one for you. So recently I just dusted off the old Nintendo, as you saw before, reached inside of the my kid's video game drawer and found this bad boy, Double Dragon 3. Now the Nintendo's a little old, so I tried to pop it in, and first time it didn't work. So then I did the wiggle technique. Still didn't work. Up and down, left and right, up and down. Still didn't work. So I did the notorious blow into the cartridge. And naturally, then it worked. So if you haven't played Double Dragon 3, which you probably have, and if you don't have this in your collection, it's only about $15. You might even be able to get it a little bit cheaper. I think I got my copy for about $10 to $12. Now here's the thing about Double Dragon. As you know, multiplayer gaming just isn't happening as much, unless if you're online, and you know, it's just not near as cool as the old school. And I remember the day when me and my brother would stay up for hours with the cousins, and we would take turns and we would play this game. Now Double Dragon is a pretty stinking hard game, but what good game isn't? A challenge must happen. Now, one of the things that I really like about this is that, especially for me, I played it a lot with my brother, and you get the feel of, what are their names? Billy and, dang, I forgot their names. So this isn't just your typical beat 'em up game. Double Dragon is a classic, and is one that I would say kind of paved the road. Now, from the music to the sounds, you have to remember the brrr when the doors open, and just the spin kicks in the air, and the jump kicks, and the throws, and jumping over the person, and spinning them by the head, and throwing them into the air. You just can't beat it, you know. And if you're playing with a friend or with your brother or sister or however you're playing it, you two can grab each other and throw them into your enemies. And this game was just priceless for the co-op aspect that was with it. Now, another cool thing about Double Dragon 3, if you haven't played, you end up being able to play as the enemies you fight. For example, the Kung Fu Master, I can't remember his name, but the Kung Fu Master asks to join your party, and later you have a ninja, and it's just really cool because you get to play as the enemies, and now they're the good guys. If you haven't picked up Double Dragon 3 on the NES, guys, you have to get it. 15 bucks, maybe 20 if you know, lose out, but it is totally worth 20 plus. So back to Retro Cart Collector. Yes, this is the game you have to pick up. Double Dragon 3.
Awesome. Thanks, Pick and Preacher, and great choice. Double Dragon 3. This is a great game. It's a little difficult for me, and the cool thing about that is all three of the games in that Double Dragon trilogy, they all land under $20 each. So Double Dragon 3 is going to land between like $14 and $19. Double Dragon 2 is going to be like $10 to $13. And the original Double Dragon, the one that we all know and love, the one that really started all of these ones, is going to be between $13 and $17. So for under 20 bucks, you can get any Double Dragon game and have a great time with it. So the last one, again, we're pushing the limit on this one. This one's gonna land between like $16 and $20, and it's gonna be Tiny Toons Adventures. So Tiny Toons Adventures is going to be brought to us from Konami, and this is a really cool side-scrolling platformer game on the NES that isn't Mario. It kind of derives some things from Mario, but this is definitely not Mario. Now, for a lot of us, Tiny Toons, we watched the cartoon, now we got to play the game, and this was a super fun game. Montana Max has kidnapped Babs Bunny, and Buster is on his way to save her. The cool thing about this is you can character swap. Now, at the start of each level, you get to pick between 3 different additional characters. Buster's going to be your main character, and you can pick between Plucky Duck, who can like glide and he can swim really good. Dizzy Devil, who can do like a little tornado or like a wind gust. Or Furball the cat, he can climb and he can jump a little further than the other ones. Now in this one, there's 6 stages. There's going to be 6 big bosses. You're also going to run into like sub bosses halfway through some of these stages. It'll be like stage 1, and then you'll have something in between, stage 2. Normally those mini bosses are going to be Elmira, and she is basically chasing you down, trying to get a hold of you because you're fuzzy and she loves you. Now her, you don't want to try to jump on. Just get away from her. Deke, dodge, whatever you gotta do, and wait for the exit to appear, and then get out of there before she gets a hold of you. You try to land on her, and she's gonna grab you, and she's gonna squeeze you, and she's gonna cuddle with you. Most of the enemies you're gonna want to jump on, land on their heads, and they will vanish. Kind of that typical thing that we're used to in a lot of games like this. Some of the bosses you're gonna want to do that same thing for. Now there's gonna be balloons you're gonna find. Some of those you're gonna pop, and you're gonna get an extra hit or an extra life. There's timers. There's also balls. You'll pop the balloon, a little ball will roll around. Now, if you pick that up, that's going to let you change to that other character you selected. And some of these levels, you're going to need those other characters to get through them. Now, you might not know which one you're going to need when you start the level, but this has infinite continues, so you'll get to start that level over again and then swap out to one of those other characters. Play around, see what you can do. You are going to die in this game. You aren't going to have the right guy, and you're not going to be able to make it. It's just not going to happen every single time. But that's kind of the fun of it. Learning levels, figuring out what you need and who you need to get through them. You can also trade carrots that you pick up. Carrots and fruit and stuff that you pick up along the way. You're going to want to find Hampton the pig, and you're going to be able to trade those for lives. Another interesting thing with this one that a lot of people don't know about is if you finish the level with a multiple of 11. Why 11? I don't know. A multiple of 11 carrots, then you're gonna battle the secret mini boss, which I'll let you figure that out and find it, because it's fun and interesting when you do get to there. Overall, Tiny Toons Adventure's got great music. It's really well designed. The levels are fun. This is a great game. And again, for under $20, you could have a lot of fun with Tiny Toons Adventures. So that's going to be another 5 games that all are pretty awesome and you can get for under $20. Heck, there's a whole series of games you can get, and each one of them are $20. And those are like a staple series in the NES library. So there's lots of cheap games out there. You don't have to go out and buy these $300 secret hidden gem games that maybe no one's heard of, and maybe for a reason. There's a lot of games out there on the NES that are under that $20 mark, and a lot of them are a lot of fun. But we're kind of starting to get close to the end of those NES games that I think fall in this category. There's probably a few more. If you think of any, leave them in the comments and I'll take a look at them, see if I can track them down. But for the next video like this next month, I think we're going to jump over to another system. So that should be fun.